Well, I'll leave that up to the committee, but the point is, if a member of Congress was read into this program, does it matter? Yes, I think it matters. It's clear to me that the people who were devising these interrogation techniques were not trying to commit a crime against an individual person. They were trying to create tools for our intelligence community to get information to prevent what we all thought was going to be an imminent attack. The Geneva Convention did not apply until 2005 to the war on terror. So I can't conceive of a statute that you could prosecute anyone under, because their endeavor was not to commit a crime, but to look at the law and come up with aggressive interrogation techniques to get information from an enemy that we all thought was coming after us again. So, however, if you think what they did was a crime and you read someone into it, they're part of the crime. So I think it's ridiculous to say the lawyers were trying to break the law. They were trying to interpret the law to protect the nation. And any member of Congress that was read into the program, I don't think they have any culpability either, because what we were trying to do is defend the nation, not conspire to hurt somebody individually, but techniques to protect us all.
I want to move on to other big challenges facing the country right now, but before we do that and before we take a quick break, early in the Bush administration, the criticism in Congress was they never pick up the phone, they never consult us. You know, we got some pretty smart people up here. We can help you. Yeah. I'm told that in this decision was anguish. The president came in inclined to release them, changed his mind a couple of times during the debate, and then came back in the end and decided to release them. At any point in that process, I'll start with you, Senator Lieberman, anybody from the White House pick up the phone and say, what do you think?
They did not. And I can tell you, listening to what Lindsey said about looking at these decisions that were made early in the Bush administration, remembering that it was immediately after 9/11/01, there was worry about another attack imminently. I'm proud to be the chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee. Our enemies are out there planning and plotting to attack us every day. So as we think about what we want to release, how much information we want to make public, what kind of mud fight we want to get into about something that happened 7 years ago, we better remember that and focus on our security today, not backbiting and vendettas from a time past.
Quickly, you're the chairwoman of the committee. You're investigating these matters anyway. Did they pick up the phone and call you?
No, they did not.
Is that a mistake?
Well, if they had, I probably would have said, as I said, let us do our work first. Since the first two cases have already been done, let us do the rest of it before anything is released, so that at least the Intelligence Committee can see everything in context and make some decisions.
On a scale of 1 to 10, sir, how confident are you, 10 being fully confident, that you will meet that deadline, that all U.S. troops will be gone at the end of 2011?
As you asked me today, I believe it's a 10, that we will be gone by 2011.
We're back with our three senators, Democrat Dianne Feinstein, Independent Joe Lieberman, and Republican Lindsey Graham. That was General Odierno on this program Easter Sunday morning. Since then, as you're all aware, there has been an uptick, as the military would call it, in violence across Iraq, in Mosul, Bakuba, including in Baghdad. And on the front page of the New York Times today, Iraq resists pleas by U.S. to placate Hussein's party. Essentially, Nouri al-Maliki, the prime minister, has not, at least if you believe U.S. officials, reached out to former Ba'ath Party members and said, it's time to move on, it's time to reconcile. Senator Lieberman, to you first, are you worried at all the combination of those things, more violence and the slower pace of political reconciliation, will knock the U.S. timetable off track?
Sure I am. I'm concerned about it, and incidentally, it's part of why I'm so grateful that President Obama did not yield to the calls for a precipitous, rapid withdrawal of our troops from Iraq. He's got us on a timeline. It's based on conditions on the ground, and what's happening now shows that all that we've sacrificed so much and worked so hard to gain is not quite set. So we need to be careful here. But I think Prime Minister Maliki has really done a pretty good job at reconciling a lot of the divisions in Iraqi politics. The Sunnis are much more involved than they used to be. I know that there's some problems with former leaders of what was basically Saddam Hussein's party. We ought to encourage Prime Minister Maliki to try to bring them in as well, so they all can be united at what seem to be some remnants of al-Qaeda in Iraq that are carrying out these brutal bombings against Shias. This is an attempt by al-Qaeda to try to stimulate sectarian conflict again in Iraq, and neither Prime Minister Maliki or the American forces and the Iraqi forces can let that happen.
And if that challenge were not great enough for the military to deal with and the president to deal with, Senator Graham, you also have this expansion of the Taliban influence inside Pakistan. And
Right.
Admiral Mullen was just there. He's due back for a White House meeting on Monday. Administration officials say they have some big decisions to make based on what Admiral Mullen tells them. There are now more U.S. troops heading into Afghanistan. And the question to you is, if Pakistan is in such trouble, and you have the Taliban on the move inside Pakistan, is it time for the president to slow down the deployment of U.S. troops in Afghanistan? Will they be at risk on the other side of the border, or will we need perhaps more troops because of the uncertainty in Pakistan?
I would counsel the president to do what General Petraeus and others in the region tell him about troops. There is a provision in the supplemental that's coming up in about a month that provides economic aid to Pakistan and $400 million to help them create a counterinsurgency program. I've been talking with administration officials, Republican Party leaders, to see if we can break some of that money out and pass it as a standalone provision soon to show the Pakistani people and government that we're with you, to give them some money to accelerate their counterinsurgency program, give them some money to provide economic aid to their people. The people do not want the Taliban to run Pakistan, but the economy in Pakistan is on its knees, and we've got to get the Pakistani army focused on the insurgency as well as the government. The threat to Pakistan is not an invasion by India, it's insurgents, the Taliban and others destabilizing the country. And I think we need to be all in helping Pakistan. As to Iraq, in 2011, I hope we will have a strong contingent of Americans there training their Air Force, their Navy. It is in our long-term best interest to have an enduring relationship with the people of Iraq, militarily and otherwise.
Admiral Mullen says Pakistan could be at a tipping point. You see the intelligence.
Yes.
Is the Taliban, Senator Feinstein, a threat to the government, the central government of Pakistan?
Oh, in my opinion, yes. I also think that these bombings, the size of the bombings in Iraq, are a real danger signal. And I think that Mr. Maliki has to step up to the plate on this. And it's going to be very interesting in the next few weeks to see how he handles this. If these bombings continue and there is an escalation of violence, I think it jeopardizes everything the United States is trying to do. With respect to the Taliban, and particularly in both Afghanistan as well as Pakistan, I think the takeover of the Swat Valley, the movement up north, is a very serious thing. The fact that, despite the fact that we provide money for the Pakistani military, they have done nothing to stop this Taliban advance, I think causes me great concern that Pakistan may be in very deep trouble. And I would think that, and most of us I think do agree, that Pakistan is sort of ground zero for terror today, that this thing has to get sorted out and sorted out quickly, or you can lose the government of Pakistan. And Pakistan is a nuclear power, and that concerns me very deeply.